Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a vast, century-old mystery. We're talking thousands upon thousands of soldiers just swallowed whole by the sheer scale of World War
Well,
One.
completely lost.
And then picture that huge anonymity being challenged, not by like high-tech spy satellites or something,
No, nothing like that.
but by something almost absurdly small. A few tarnished metal buttons found tucked away in a uniform pocket.
It's incredible, isn't it? Welcome to this deep dive. We're looking at this profound and very much ongoing effort to essentially rewrite the final chapter for Soldiers Lost over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And this story, it really shows that the legacy of the Great War isn't just static history in a book. It's an active thing, a modern commitment to remembrance.
And to resolving that awful uncertainty for families, generations of families.
Exactly.
So today we're focusing specifically on two Scottish soldiers, Lieutenant James Grant Allan and Lance Corporal Gordon McPherson. They were both killed in the chaos of the Battle of Loos back in 1915. And their remains, well, they were finally identified, given their names back, 106 years later.
It's an amazing time frame. Our sources today, they really take us through the historical context, the sheer brutality of that battle.
Right.
And then they give us these intensely human profiles of the men themselves, who they were before the war.
Which is so important.
And finally, they guide us through the complex scientific detective work. It's multidisciplinary forensics, genealogy,
Yeah.
all leading to this eventual identification.
Yeah, our mission here is really to try and grasp this incredible contrast. You've got the industrial scale of the slaughter in WWI,
Unimaginable numbers.
set against this meticulous, almost, I don't know, surgical precision needed today to restore just one individual identity after more than a century. We're charting that journey from mass anonymity to individual closure.
And to connect this to the bigger picture, you really have to appreciate the scale of loss WWI inflicted. It wasn't just mass death, it was mass disappearance.
That's a key point.
500,000 British servicemen were lost, just vanished into the chaos of the Western Front. Their bodies either never recovered or impossible to identify at the time.
So their names end up on these huge memorials.
Precisely. Like the Loos Memorial in France. It silently commemorates thousands of names, including, until very recently, Allan and McPherson. They were just names on a wall.
Right. So let's talk about that battle. Loos. September 25th, 1915. This consumed these men. It was a defining moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And frankly, a catastrophe.
A huge one. It was the biggest British offensive of 1915, and it was launched partly because of, well, political pressure, to show the French that Britain was serious about taking major action.
But that pressure led straight into a military disaster.
Absolutely. The ground they chose was, by pretty much all accounts, wholly unsuitable. Just terrible ground for an attack.
What does that mean, unsuitable?
Well, we're talking flat, open plains, completely exposed, facing massive German fortifications, including these huge fortified slag heaps from the mining industry.
Like mini mountains.
Exactly. And mining villages that the Germans have turned into instant fortresses. Really strong defensive positions.
And trying to breach those defenses led to, well, one of the most controversial decisions of the war, didn't it?
It did. The first large-scale use of chlorine gas by the British.
And what's fascinating, or maybe just tragic, is how this weapon, meant to guarantee a breakthrough, immediately kind of backfired.
It proved so unreliable. They released it from thousands of these heavy cylinders, but the chlorine didn't spread evenly. The winds were fickle.
So what happened?
Well, sometimes the gas just stalled out in no man's land, didn't help at all. Other times, much worse, it actually blew back into the British trenches.
Oh, no. Before they even attacked.
Yes. It caused absolute chaos. Hundreds of casualties among their own troops before the assault even began properly. Just a self-inflicted disaster.
But despite that, the attack went ahead. The Scottish divisions of Kitchener's new army, the 9th and the 15th, they were committed.
They were. And Lance Corporal McPherson's battalion, the 7th Cameron Highlanders, they fought incredibly fiercely. They actually succeeded initially, pushing towards crucial high ground, a place called Hill 70.
So some success?
Some initial success, yes, but it just couldn't be sustained against the massive German counterfire. They eventually found themselves facing encircling fire, pinned down.
And the accounts of the aftermath, they're just horrific.
They are. The slopes of Hill 70 were reportedly just covered with the tartans of the Scottish dead. One description said they lay like the drift left on the shore when the tide has ebbed.
Just awful imagery. And it was in that absolute carnage that Allan and McPherson disappeared. vanished.
Lost for over a century.
So before they became two more names on that long, long list of the missing, they were real people, distinct individuals. And I think to really appreciate the closure their families finally got, we need to pause and, remember who these men actually were.
Absolutely. It's crucial. Let's start with Lance Corporal Gordon McPherson. He was from a working-class background, an NCO. He worked as a tobacconist in Edinburgh. And he was only 23 when he was killed.
And what really jumps out from the records about him is his personality.
Yeah.
Even in the trenches.
Yes. A comrade described him as the life and soul of the section. Apparently, he was known for doing impersonations of Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin in the trenches. It humanizes everything instantly, doesn't it? Puts a face to the name.
It really does. And the human details, they just deepen the tragedy. We know his favorite song was Trumpeter, What Are You Sounding Now?
Okay.
It became so linked to him, Gordon's song, that after he died, his surviving comrades just couldn't bear to sing it anymore. They couldn't even say the title.
Wow. That silence.
Yeah.
That inability to even sing a song. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the grief, the loss.
It really does. And in his final letter home, McPherson was focused entirely on reassuring his mother, telling her to cheer up.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
He wrote that he looked forward to the happy time we will have when your 4 soldiers come home. 4 soldiers.
So his brothers were serving too.
Yes. 3 other family members were also fighting. It underscores the huge national effort, but it makes his own failure to return even more poignant, doesn't it?
Definitely. Okay, so that's McPherson. What about Lieutenant James Grant Allan? Different background.
Yes, quite different. He was officer, son of a reverend, only 20 years old when he died. He'd actually left his humanities studies at Edinburgh University to volunteer.
So educated from a professional family.
Exactly. And he joined the Gordon Highlanders, actually alongside his brother, Nimmo, who also enlisted.
And for someone so young, Allan seems to have had this stark clarity about the war quite early on.
He did. In his last letter, he wrote something quite profound. It is merely that the uselessness of the whole thing has been impressed on me in the last 2 days.
The uselessness, wow. From a 20-year-old volunteer. That's deeply unsettling, isn't it? Suggests a ratchet disillusionment.
It does. And there's another incredibly sad detail connected to him. His 13-year-old sister, Jean, when he left for the front, she wrote something in her diary.
What did she write?
With this sort of haunting foresight, she wrote, I have seen my brother's face for the last time on this earth.
Oh, that's just crushing. 13 years old. To carry that thought potentially for decades.
A lifetime, yes. A terrible burden.
So 2 men, very different backgrounds, Allan and McPherson, meet the exact same fate on that same horrific slope at Loos in 1915. Okay, now we jump forward, way forward, 106 years to 2021. And the story shifts completely. It's not military history anymore. It's forensic science.
Right. And that jump, it starts with something completely ordinary. Construction work. They were building a new hospital near Linz in France.
Near the old battlefields.
Exactly. And during the groundwork, they started unearthing skeletal remains. Eventually, it turned out to be over 100 military casualties.
Wow. So what happens then? Is there a protocol?
Oh, yes, absolutely. When human remains are found in a known military area like this, the protocol is immediate. The French authorities confirm their historical military casualties.
And then?
That triggers notification to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, the CWGC. It's their specialist archaeological recovery unit that then moves in to start the really meticulous work.
So it's not just digging them up.
No, far from it. It's a proper forensic excavation. In this case, they identified a specific collective grave holding 8 soldiers together.
8 men.
Yes. And the process requires painstaking care. Carefully unearthing each individual, every single associated artifact, tiny fragments of boots, badges, buckles.
Everything.
Everything. And logging the precise positions of the bodies and the items. The context is everything.
Okay, so they recover the remains and artifacts. Where do they go next?
They're carefully transported back to the UK to the Ministry of Defence's Joint Casualty and Compassionate Center, the JCCC.
JCCC. Okay.
That's where the real detective work kicks in. It's managed by their commemorations team, who are sometimes known quite aptly as the Bama War Detectives.
War detectives.
Yeah.
I like that. So what's their process?
Well, their methodology is what's really kind of revolutionary here. It's this powerful mix of deep archival historical research.
Digging through old records.
Exactly. Then forensic anthropology, examining the bones to determine things like age, stature, maybe signs of injury.
Right.
And crucially, modern genealogical tracing, finding living relatives. And what's fascinating about Allan and McPherson is that their two cases really show the full spectrum of how these identifications happen.
Okay, so how do they identify McPherson? You said it involved luck.
It did. Luck intersecting with brilliant historical research. The archaeologists found something highly unusual, very specific, in the pocket of one soldier's uniform.
The buttons.
The buttons, a small set of metal buttons from the Newcastle Corporation Tramways.
Newcastle Tramways. That's
Yeah.
really specific. Not military issue.
Exactly. Military insignia, badges, they're common. But a pocket full of tram buttons, that's unique. That's the potential smoking gun.
So how did the war detectives use that?
Well, a JCCC caseworker, Nicola Nash, she took that clue and ran with it. She cross-referenced the list of missing Cameron Highlanders from that battle sector with historical records. Specifically, the 1911 UK census data.
The census. What did that show?
It showed the missing link. The census revealed that the father of one particular missing soldier, Gordon McPherson, worked for the Newcastle Tramway.
His father. Not his.
His father. That's the incredible connection. The buttons likely belonged to his dad. That must have been a real eureka moment for the team.
I bet. So that link was strong enough.
It was direct and compelling enough to pursue. So they then used modern genealogy to trace the McPherson family line forward over a century.
And they found relatives.
They did. Successfully located his living great-nephews, Andrew and Alistair McPherson. And the final, absolute confirmation came from DNA testing, comparing their DNA to DNA extracted from the remains. A match. A century of uncertainty ended, basically because of a few tram buttons.
That is an incredible story. Just, wow. Okay, so compare that piece of, almost accidental discovery with Lieutenant Allan's case. You said that was different.
Very different. It was a pure marathon of research and elimination. With Allan, the artifacts found only confirmed he was an officer in the Gordon Highlanders.
Nothing personal. No unique clues like the buttons.
Nothing like that. No smoking gun. So they had to rely purely on meticulous elimination.
How does that work?
This is where you see the sheer scale of the JCCC's genealogical commitment. The research team had to delve deep into war diaries, regimental records, battalion positions, everything they could find.
To narrow it down.
Exactly. To compile a definitive shortlist of all the Gordon Highlanders officers who were known to be missing in that specific sector during that specific time frame of the battle.
Okay, so how many did they narrow it down to?
That painstaking process resulted in a short list of 14 potential candidates. 14 missing officers.
14. That still sounds like a huge challenge for DNA.
It is an enormous hurdle because to make a positive identification, they couldn't just get lucky with one DNA sample. They had to attempt to trace the living descendants of all 14 of those men.
All of them. Across the globe.
Well,
over 100 years.
Yes. It was a truly massive, incredibly painstaking genealogical effort. Imagine tracing 14 different family trees forward over a century, looking for living relatives willing to provide DNA samples.
That's dedication. Did they succeed?
They did. They managed to trace and contact relatives for the entire shortlist, and eventually they located Nicholas Allan,
A relative of Lieutenant Allan.
his great-nephew. A relative Lieutenant Allan obviously never knew, and Nicholas Allan said he barely knew existed. He provided the DNA sample that finally gave them the conclusive match.
Wow. So McPherson's case was solved by one unique clue, and Allan's by this huge systematic genealogical trawl.
Exactly. It really showcases the different paths these investigations can take and the incredible depth of the commitment involved.
So what does this all mean in the end, all this effort? It culminated in a ceremony, right?
A deeply powerful one, yes. Exactly 110 years to the day after they fell. On September 25, 2025, Lieutenant Allan and Lance Corporal McPherson were finally laid to rest with full military honors.
Where did this ceremony take place?
At the CWGC Loos British Cemetery Extension, very near where they died. The solemnity of it was immense.
I can only imagine.
Their coffins were carried by serving soldiers from the 4th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland. That's the modern successor to their original regiments.
A direct link to today's army.
Yes. And there was a lone piper playing. It was this really tangible moment connecting the sacrifice of 1915 directly to the present day.
And they were buried alongside the other men found with them.
Yes, profoundly. They were buried alongside the 6 other soldiers found in that same grave, whose identities, sadly, could not be determined.
So the work continues for them.
It does. But for the Allan and McPherson families, after 106 years, the book could finally be closed.
You can feel the emotional weight of that closure in what the family said.
Absolutely. Nicholas Allan, the great-nephew who provided the DNA match for Lieutenant Allan, he spoke of feeling a profound sense that something has been completed. And he added, very movingly, that they were completing something for them too, meaning all those still missing.
And Alistair McPherson.
He summed it up with just heartbreaking simplicity. He's no longer lost.
He's no longer lost after more than a century. That says it all, really.
It does. And Nicola Nash from the MOD War Detective, she really captured the institutional commitment behind all this.
What did she say?
She noted that with 500,000 British servicemen still missing, every identity we make is a huge achievement. It has been a real privilege to give closure to their families.
A huge achievement indeed. So, thinking about this whole story, what's the final takeaway?
Well, it does raise an important question, I think, for all of us. The success here, especially with McPherson, hinges on these seemingly tiny, insignificant personal details. A tramway button, a father's job description noted in a census, a single diary entry from a teenage sister.
Things easily lost or forgotten.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, what forgotten personal artifacts in our own lives today, things that seem mundane now, might actually carry the weight of identification or hold the key to solving some future historical mystery, maybe a century from now.
That's a fascinating thought. The potential future significance of everyday objects. So ultimately, identifying these two men, 106 years after they vanished into the fog of war, it demonstrates pretty unequivocally that no sacrifice is truly lost forever, and that modern science, combined with just tireless human dedication, can still provide that vital closure where history initially failed. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the century-long identification effort stemming from the Battle of Loos.